Ashe! Ashe, greetings. A grand rising. A grand day once again to you all. My fellow natural native earthly humans. And welcome to this one, part 17 of my series of talks or my series of presentations, if you will, titled Another Perspective, Analysis and Interpretation of the very famous prose poem called Desiderata by the late Max Ehrmann. Now, yeah, you don't know, it is yours truly, I, the Mystic P, along with my companion here. Yes, this is my old Max guitar. And as you I oftentimes ask you to listen carefully, yes, you will hear my recorded chirping bird sounds right here, chirping and echoing the melodious natural healing, the melodious natural comforting and therapeutic sounds right here in the background, in the foreground, and all around you is truly I, the Mystic P. Yes. Now, if you haven't yet watched part 1 of this my talks, my analysis and interpretations, of course, in the series from part 1 to part 16 of this series, I suggest that you please do so before you continue to watch this part 17. My objective is that you get as much as possible out of all that I'm saying, or at least to inspire, to motivate you to see things a little differently from another point of view. I ask that you please do so, if you can do so before you watch this. As soon as you finish watching this part 17, go back and watch part 1 to part 16. And guarantee you're gonna get much more out of it. You will start to understand, and yeah, because there's so much to share from this one poem, from this prose poem. There's so much deep thoughts and things to think about and to help us deal with our everyday life and to understand some of the things that are happening and why things are happening. Trust me, I'll be sharing some of my, because this is like a Bible to me, if you will. Desiderata. Yeah, but I love it. Yes. So at the end of part 16, you might remember I promised that I will continue to share with you some more of my perspectives and analysis, insights and interpretation of stanza number 1 of the Desiderata. And I quote, "Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence," unquote. Remember. And how from my perspective, remember me saying that from my perspective, it correlates with the ancient scriptures that can be found in the Adamic race history and holy book, commonly known as the Holy Bible, the Christian Holy Bible, in accordance with Proverbs, in the book of Proverbs, that said, and I quote, "Train a child in the way that he or she should go, and when he or she is old, he or she will not depart from it." Or from another translation of the same thing, it said, "Direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it." And also, you remember me my incorporation of Dr. Dorothy Law Nolt, her poem titled "Children Learn What They Live." That's in from part 16. You will also no doubt notice that so far in my analysis and insights of this Desiderata, that I have only covered the first portion of this stanza, namely, the only section I've covered so far is go placidly amid the noise and the haste, or rather, amid the noise and haste. Again, I strongly suggest that if you wish to get the full understanding, and overstanding of my analysis, insights, and perspectives of this beautiful poem, this highly philosophical, deep, profound poem, I ask that you please watch and listen to part 1 to part 17, and that you do so also in sequential order. Very powerful. Now, please let me revisit Dr. Dorothy Law's Knoll's poem titled Children Learn What They Live, in order to further highlight my point, or some of my points. First, what is meant by children learn what they live? What is meant by that? How do you interpret that? What comes to your mind? How you see it? I am well aware that, as simple as it may sound, I have personally encountered and experienced a number of people having problems with the concept, or with the idea, children learn what they live. They are more comfortable saying and interpreting children live what they learn. So please let me break it down for you, at least share my perspective, at least from my perspective. Let me share it with you. First, to learn, by meaning and definition, is to gain or to acquire knowledge of something, or skill, to gain and acquire knowledge of something, or a skill in something. To be that is, you gain that by study, by experience, or by thought, or or being taught. So if or when we say that we learn something, or if or when we say that we are in the process of learning something, we are actually saying that we have gained knowledge of something, or that we are gaining or acquiring knowledge or a skill in something, either by study or through practical experience, or that we are being taught. In fact, my late mother used to say that life is a learning experience. And I am sure that most of you will agree that this thing that we call life is really and truly a learning experience. In fact, no doubt, some of you will agree with me when I say that as long as we are alive, above ground, and as long as all of our mental faculties are intact and activated, we are learning. And the possibility does, from my perspective, the possibility does exist, or does also exist, that even in our transition, or even in the thing that we call death, we will still be learning. For at the very least, when we cross over, when we have that experience, we will experience and know what that thing that we call death really and truly is. So learning never really stops, at least from my perspective. That's where I see. And as I said, we don't necessarily have to agree. These are just my perspectives on topics and things like these. And to our children, or to our offspring, life is a learning experience as well. And their home and their environment is their first and real school, is their first and real training center. It's their first and real place of learning, home. And we, their parents, are their first and real, and may I say most important teachers. Our children are constantly learning and acquiring knowledge and information. Listen to the word information, meaning that which is formed within our mind or within their mind. That which is formed, the mental image of the world and what it should and will be like in their minds. Our children are constantly being taught. They are constantly learning. The most impressive and long-lasting learning that our children gain in their lives is the knowledge that they have acquired from their experience while living with us and by being around us, by learning and by listening to us and observing us. I mean their parents, with their adults, their parents and guardians. Remember that it is universally agreed upon and accepted that we humans are the product of our environment, and also that children are the product of their environment. However, unlike a child, we adults may be able to change our environment and possible change our impact on what we produce, either for good or for the opposite. But I will have much more to say on this point at another time or later in this talk. Again, I quote, if children live with criticisms, this is from Dr. Dorothy Law's poem. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn, unquote. Criticism, by meaning and definition, is the act of finding fault or the act of finding faults in something or in someone or in something. And not just find fault, not just to find fault. Criticism is not just to find fault or faults, but it is to find it, or it is to find them in a disapproving way, in a put down way. That's what criticism is. From the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, if or when all things are considered and judged fairly, or if and when all things were to be considered and judged fairly and impartially, there is no form of criticism that is good. Therefore, all forms of criticism are evil. Bad, evil. Even that which is called constructive criticism. From my perspective, it's still not good criticism. And condemn, by meaning and definition, is to express complete disapproval of someone or of something, typically in public, or to censure. That's to condemn. Now, the question I would like to ask, and for us to reflect upon and be honest about, how many of us that are now parents and adults today that can honestly say that as children we were raised and brought up with and by our parents in a home wherein there were no criticisms? How many of us today that can honestly say that we did not experience criticism? And hurtful criticisms, I might add, from our parents or from our guardians or our caretakers. However we, and under what circumstances we were brought up. How many of us can say that we were brought up criticisms free when we were children? How many of us adults and parents today that can truly and honestly say that we do not criticize and that we did not criticize our own children? So now you know. By answering that question and be honest about it, I'm sure that now you know and can see the reason or at the very least, one reason why we are so quick and hell-bent on criticizing and condemning each other. So now you know and can see why you are so quick and hell-bent on criticizing and condemning me for whatever reason, or reasons they might be, or might not be. So now you know and can see why we are so quick and hell-bent on criticizing and condemning ourselves. In summary, it is because of the fact that the deadly, and may I say contagious seed of criticism have been sown and germinated in us from when? From the earliest stage of our life. At home. And by our parents. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming the parents, because I will explain and give my perspective to why this happened and why that happened and why it continues to happen. Please stay tuned. Remember, children learn what they live. And throughout their entire life, they will continue to live what they learn or what they have learned, I might add. And again, I quote, if children live with praise, they learn appreciation. Unquote. If a child live with praise, he or she will learn appreciation. How many of us parents and adults today that can honestly say that we had received genuine and noteworthy praise, or that we were genuinely and justifiably praised by our parents when we were growing up as children? And especially on a constant, getting this worthy praise on a constant basis, all the time. Again, if children live with praise, they learn appreciation. Some of us, if not most of us, the most that we have ever received from our parents is some solid put down and insults. Sometimes even when we as children tried our very best to please them meaning to please our parents, all we ever got were some solid put down and insults, aka humiliation to the max. Example, if we happen to come second in our class, or second or third in our class, meaning if or when we got second or third place in our class examination, instead of getting praise and encouragement to do better next time, that will help us to do better next time around, we were reprimanded and sometimes punished severely for not coming. We're punished for not coming in or for not getting first place. And worst, if we ever fail, come on with that a failure. Some of us were taught by our parents, or the impression that we got by both learning at home and going to church, is that only God alone that should and must be praised. Some people still believe that. So now you know why we have so little appreciation whatsoever for each other and for life in general. So now you know why some of us can't show appreciation or be appreciative of our wives, of our spouses, of our friends, of our neighbors, of our fellow men and women, etc. It is because as children we did not receive, we did not receive praise or lived with praise, not even for our efforts at trying to please our parents and others that were close to us. We did not receive the praise, the word of praise. From my perspective, insights and analysis, all crimes and violence that we all see manifesting in our societies in the world today is attributed to this one simple fact. It is because of the lack of appreciation of each other, aka the lack of respect for each other. Now, again, I quote, if children live with praise, they learn appreciation. unquote. Now, this had to be the end of part 17 because I know I just realized I run way out of time. So please, again, stay tuned to this channel, the Mystic P Acoustically, and join me again tomorrow for part 18. And that is if I am gifted with another day, and one in which I continue to experience and full joy, good health, abundant life, freedom, safety, peace of mind, and good relationships with people like you all, my listeners and my well-wishers. Please join me tomorrow when and where I will continue to share with you some more of my perspectives, my analysis, insights, and interpretation on stanza 1. What does stanza 1 say of the Desiderata? Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence, and how, from I, the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, it correlates with the ancient scriptures in the book of Proverbs that said, train up a child in the way that he or she should go, and when he or she is old, not depart from it, or direct your children onto the right path, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And also my incorporation of Dr. Law's poem, Children Learn What They Live. In the meantime and between time, I ask that you please continue to think, meditate, and contemplate on the word placidly. And live a life like yourself, full joy, and be more and more and much, much more, and definitely not less. Be more and more, not less. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.